This reconstruction is built from period paintings, street engravings, hand-drawn maps, and written records produced in 17th century Paris. These sources were created by artists, surveyors, and clerks whose task was to record what stood in front of them, not to interpret it. When viewed together, these materials allow us to observe the city as it functioned day by day. They show how streets were used, how work was organized, and how people moved through shared space. This walkthrough does not focus on events or personalities. It focuses on ordinary routines, repeated actions, and the physical environment that shaped daily life. By following these images in sequence, we can understand how Paris looked, sounded, and operated at a specific moment in time. We begin in Paris in the year 1680. Paris, 1680. Southern bank of the Seine. The image opens along the southern bank of the Seine. The river curves slowly through the frame, its surface broken by soft movement. Small wooden boats are tied to short posts driven into the earth. Their hulls sit low in the water, loaded with baskets and covered bundles. A man crouches near the edge, dipping a piece of cloth into the river. He lifts it, rings it once, and lowers it again. Stone along the riverbank appears uneven. Some sections are carefully set, while others give way to exposed soil. Footpaths follow the water's edge, worn smooth by repeated use. Another figure approaches from behind, carrying a sack across one shoulder. He slows as he reaches the water, waiting for space to pass. There is no hurry. Movement here follows shared rhythm. Buildings rise close to the river. Their lower walls are darkened by moisture and age. Wooden beams show through plaster in places where repairs were made. Thin smoke rises from several chimneys. It lifts straight upward, suggesting calm air. The soundscape feels controlled, shaped by water, steps, and quiet voices. This area depends heavily on the river. Water is used for washing cloth, cleaning tools, and moving goods. Boats arrive early in the day and leave again before evening. A woman stands near a doorway facing the river. She watches the activity for a moment, then turns back inside. Her movement is brief, almost habitual. Time here is measured through routine. Morning work begins with light. Tasks repeat in familiar order. There is no clear separation between labor and rest. Work happens in view of others, in shared space. As the river continues eastward, the density of buildings increases. Foot traffic thickens slightly. The scene begins to shift away from water and toward the interior streets of the city. The next images move inland, following those paths. Paris, 1680. Narrow residential street. The image shifts away from the river and into a narrow residential street. The space tightens immediately. Stone walls rise on both sides, their surfaces uneven and darkened by age. Upper floors extend outward, narrowing the strip of sky above. Windows remain open despite the closeness. From one window, a cloth is shaken once, then pulled back inside. The ground is paved with irregular stone. Water collects in shallow gaps, reflecting fragments of light. A man steps carefully, lifting his foot higher than needed to avoid a wet patch. Doors sit low and heavy at street level. Their wood is scarred from repeated use. A woman opens one door just wide enough to pass through, then closes it behind her. Movement here is constant but controlled. Pedestrians adjust their pace to one another. A small cart approaches slowly, its wheels brushing the edges of the stones. The driver leans forward, watching the space ahead. A boy steps aside, pressing himself close to the wall. Once the cart passes, he resumes walking without pause. Shops occupy the lower levels of many buildings. Their fronts open directly onto the street. Inside one doorway, goods are stacked in neat rows against the wall. A shopkeeper stands at the threshold. He adjusts an item on display, then looks down the street. After a moment, he steps back inside. Living spaces sit directly above these shops. There is no clear boundary between work and home. Daily tasks overlap, sharing the same structure and air. Sound travels easily through the narrow space. Footsteps echo. Voices carry farther than expected. Residents move with awareness of others. Every action is shaped by proximity. Even small movements require attention. As the street continues, it bends slightly. Light changes as buildings shift position. The path leads toward a wider opening ahead. The density begins to loosen. The sound of many voices gathers. The next images open into one of the city's central market spaces. Paris, 1680. Market area near Les Halles. The image opens into a wider space near the center of the city. The street expands, allowing light to fall more evenly across the ground. Wooden stalls line both sides of the open area. Their frames are rough and uneven, assembled for regular use rather than display. Cloth coverings hang loosely, tied at the corners. Produce fills the foreground. Vegetables are arranged in small piles. Roots, leaves, and stems remain untrimmed. Fish rest on flatboards set over shallow containers. Their surfaces catch the light briefly as people pass. A vendor leans forward and shifts one fish closer to the edge. Movement here is steady and purposeful. People stop, inspect, and move on. No one lingers without reason. A woman steps closer to a stall. She reaches toward a bundle, pauses, then withdraws her hand. The vendor watches, waiting. Coins change hands quickly. A small pouch is opened, tilted, then closed again. The exchange ends without conversation. Smells layer the space. Fresh produce, damp wood, and nearby cooking fires mix in the air. The market feels active but controlled. Carts arrive from narrow streets leading into the square. They unload baskets one by one. A man lifts a crate, sets it down, then returns for another. This space feeds much of the city. Goods arrive early in the day and are redistributed outward. Timing matters. Freshness matters. Children move along the edges of the crowd. One pauses near a stall, watching the hands of the vendor. After a moment, he follows an older figure away. The ground shows signs of constant use. Stone is worn smooth at the center and rougher at the edges. Water drains slowly toward shallow channels. Vendors adjust their displays throughout the day. Items are shifted, replaced, or removed as stock changes. Each movement is practiced and efficient. As the day progresses, the space grows louder. Voices overlap. Foot traffic increases. Toward the far end of the market, the view narrows again. Stalls give way to permanent structures. Signs begin to appear above doorways. The images move onward, following those signs into streets shaped by skilled labor. Paris, 1680. Craft and Workshop Street. The image moves into a street defined by work rather than trade. The space narrows again, but the movement feels different here. Painted signs extend from buildings on iron brackets. They show simple symbols rather than words. A hammer, a pair of scissors, a boot. Doors stand open along the street. Inside, workshops are visible from the outside. Light falls directly onto wooden tables worn smooth by use. A man bends over a work surface. Tools are laid out in a careful line. He lifts one, applies pressure, then returns it to the same spot. Another worker passes behind him carrying a narrow plank. He turns his body sideways to avoid contact, then continues forward. The sound here is rhythmic. Metal touches metal. Wood meets stone. Each workshop focuses on a single task: shoemaking, metalwork, cloth cutting. Skills are divided, refined, and repeated. An older man stands near a doorway watching the work inside. He nods once, then steps away. His role appears supervisory rather than active. Apprentices move carefully through the space. One carries a bundle of materials held tightly against his chest. He slows as he approaches a work table, waiting for instruction. There is little decoration. Walls are bare. Windows are wide enough to admit light, but no more. Work here follows daylight. Tasks are planned around visibility rather than hours. When light fades, productivity slows. The street itself supports the work. Materials arrive by cart. Finished items leave the same way. People passing through adjust their pace. They step aside for workers carrying tools or goods. Movement remains cooperative. As the street continues, the signs thin out. Workshops give way to storage spaces as closed doors. The noise softens. The city begins to open outward. Stone walls appear ahead, separating dense streets from open ground. The next images shift toward the edge of Paris, where the city meets its boundary.